I've just watched Scar's video and now I'm excited. He has been doing some serious work on my old base. And it looks unreal. It looks unreal. It looks unreal. I don't even know what to say. I'm actually lost for words. I'm lost for words. He's actually gone and done it. He has gone and done it. He has actually managed to connect the things that I always struggled to connect. You see, I've run through the story of my base on a number of occasions, but the concept around this thing was that the tower in the center, this tower in the center with the golden heart and everything like that, that's like an ancient monument that was built by an ancient civilization. Okay, and it's been there for thousands and thousands of years. That's why it's overgrown. That's why it looks the way that it does. And then a future generation came along and they decided they wanted to protect and preserve it. So they built up these towers around it that are almost, they're protecting it in some way and they're adding something to it. So it's like the merging of the two generations. But one thing that I think always kind of struggled to land for me is how they are actually protecting it, how they were connected to it. And it was something that I tried to work out for so long. Okay, my two brain cells were rubbed together so hard, and nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. I just couldn't make it work. I had all these different plans. I tried them out, and eventually I just gave up on doing it. But Scar has come on, the absolute champion that he is, and he has come up with a wicked chain design. I mean, look at this. You know, I always talked about how it would be really nice to have some way that it looked like these were supporting it, potentially using chains. And this is like a futuristic chain. This is the thing. I didn't want to use like medieval chains because it didn't feel like it actually fit in with the vibe of the base. But these are really cool. And then the overgrowing down there, and it's matched up as well. The overgrowing is actually matched up with the blocks that I've used here, so it doesn't feel out of place. I mean, the dude is a wizard. A literal wizard. He needs to wear his wizard skin at all times so that everyone can know that he is in fact a wizard. The only thing that is slightly bittersweet for me is that obviously this is now my old base. This technically isn't my base anymore. I no longer own this thing, so I'm seeing it in its best form when it is not actually... What is that thing? What is that? Is this a base on top of a base? What is this? Is this a little living quarters? It must be a little living quarters. Is this where... Has Scar missed the point of the base swap? Does he not know that he now has my entire base? He doesn't have to camp out. He has everything. He can go wherever he wants. He owns this whole thing. Although I will admit, I am actually a huge fan of this little tent. You know, this is the thing with Scar, is that he can build something as tiny as a little tent like this. And it can be better than an entire base. To say that I'm impressed is an understatement. I am chuffed to bits. I am absolutely chuffed to bits with this. This looks completely insane. We might have to start negotiating some deed transfers at some point because I'm starting to really miss this thing. I've even been feeding it recently. I mean, I never feed this thing normally. I must really miss it if I've stopped neglecting it now. Anyway, if we come over back to our new base, you can see this is the Chest Monster 2.0. This is what we created in the previous Hermitcraft episode. I think Scar seems to be pretty impressed by this thing. And I think he seems to like it. The only thing is that it is currently empty. There's currently no items on the inside of it. And that's because to get the items into this thing is a mammoth task. But it's a task that we're going to start off with in today's Hermitcraft episode. So you know what that means? It's time for super fast block move mode. Except it's not, because I just realised I haven't actually tested this thing yet, and that's probably worth doing. So if I chuck this into here, and then chuck this into here, and then this into here. Okay, this should now be unloading. And we should begin to see items fly up to the top. Okay, so the dirt is going up to the top, and it is making its way round. Is it being sorted correctly? It looks like... It is. Okay, so it is making its way to the dirt section. This is good. Now, I've got a dirt box, I have got an empty box, and then I've got a cobblestone one. So I want to see how this system deals with an empty box. That's just run out. There was the empty box, and then there's the new box. Well, that's very smart. Okay, this is incredibly smart. This all works. This is going to function fine. We can start filling some things up. Now it's time for super fast block move mode. And this is something that I certainly wasn't expecting to take as long as it did. You see, I've played Minecraft now for around about 10 years. I have a pretty good idea of how long things take. You know, I know how long it would take roughly to do the redstone for certain elements of my base. I know how long it would take to terraform an area. I have experience in all of those things. What I didn't really anticipate is that it would take me 5 hours to just clear out the chests from the chest monster. Not even touching the shulker boxes. Just 5 hours of moving items into shulker boxes and then transporting those shulker boxes into the chests. The loading system of the chest monster 2.0. You know, and some of the items that Scar has. Scar had 2 double chests worth of shulker boxes of stone. Let's just take that in for a second. That's 104 shulker boxes of stone. No more. 114. 114 shulker boxes of stone. I didn't even know what to do with it. So in the end, I actually had to manually sort certain shulker boxes into the correct areas because he just had too many. The chest monster 2.0 still wasn't big enough for some of the items that Scar has. But it gets even better from there. You see, I obviously knew it was going to take a decent chunk of time to actually remove the items from the shulker boxes, but I wasn't expecting this length of time. You see, while I was building it, obviously that's 6 hours. I then waited 5 hours afterwards, assuming it all clear, and it hadn't all cleared. So then I went to bed. I've come back the next morning. It is now 18 hours after I started this process, and there are still this many shulker boxes in the chests. Now, if we look down at the bottom here, this is how many we've cleared out. So we are exactly halfway through, which means if we do 18 hours times 2, it's going to take, it would have taken 36 hours in total for this thing to load itself up automatically. I mean, what on earth? What on earth, Scar? What on earth? I mean, just imagine if I hadn't put in all of these shulker boxes into the system and I tried to load those up as well. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Even quartz, I had to manually sort in shulker boxes because I concluded he had far too much quartz for one man. I am both incredibly impressed by Scar's richeties, but also just incredibly baffled as to why one human needs this much stuff. He must just dedicate a week of every month to just gathering resources, so he has an infinite supply, so whenever he goes to build something, he just has the items ready. That's actually a really good idea. Yeah, no, Scar's incredibly smart. Now it's time to consult the book. Does anyone know where I put the book? Has anyone around here seen the book? Have I really lost my plans book? That doesn't seem like something that I would do, but I've clearly gone and done it. The thing is, I kind of know what's in the book, but just out of principle, I now really want to find the book. And thankfully, I managed to locate it. So here we go. We've got the Chest Monster 2.0. The next plan is the Super Duper Smelter. Then, of course, we've got the Agriculture. And then we have doors and stuff. Those are my sets of plans for this new base of mine. As I said in the episode that I originally came over here, this area here is meant to be like a blacksmith, is meant to have a smelter installed in it. So I guess we should probably install some form of super smelter in it. I'm hoping there's space underneath the floor. I mean, I'm a little bit terrified, but I'm hoping there is. There is. So now it's time for me to clear out a relatively large space underneath here to create, I would say, a double super smelter. So that's going to be 44 furnaces working at once. Hopefully that will be enough. If not, then we'll have to build another super smelter next to it. So then Scar has 88 furnaces. And just so you know, I'm never going to get used to the fact that this is now my base. So I will continue to refer to it as Scar's base. Here we go. Super smelter zone. Okay, so we're going to have 2 strips of them. As I say, this is going to be a double super smelter. So we're going to have one of them here, 22 furnaces each. And everything is then going to feed back up into this area. So there's going to be an input chest up there that will take the items down, and then there'll be an output chest up there where the items are going to be sent up through a water elevator. Now for this build, we are going to be using the Il Mango designs. So recently in my industrial district, I did a big minecart based one, but I'll be honest, I haven't actually used that much yet because my fueling system for it is pretty terrible. So I think that's something that I'm going to work on when I get my industrial district back. And the reason that I'm saying it like that is because I don't know if I actually still have my industrial district, or if that's Scar's, or if Scar still needs to pay to get into it, because technically he doesn't have a pass. I'm the only one with a pass. So maybe he owns the industrial district, but actually has to pay to visit every single time, which is that's a great setup for me. Because, I mean, the shop is still mine. So I'd still be earning diamonds from it. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on there. I'll have to consult with the aliens that place the HCBBS in the shopping district. Just as an update, this thing is still passing items around, by the way. I'm now really starting to understand why Scar loses everything that he touches. Because I had some chests, and I put them down for safekeeping, and they are gone. They are 100% gone. And after 10 minutes of searching, I gave up. Right, part 1 of the process is now all in place. So we have all of the input hoppers for our items up at the top. These are the items that are going to be flowing in. We've also got input hoppers for all of the coal, which is what makes this system better than the system that I have in the industrial district. And then here are the output hopper lines. Now this system will smelt 44 items every 30 seconds. So that's just faster than 1 item per second, which is pretty good. But then Scar does have like thousands and thousands of bits of sand, so hopefully it's fast enough for him. The first little even distributor is now in place, so this is the thing that makes sure that 1 item drops into every single one of the furnaces, as opposed to all piling into the first one, which I've just realised is somehow facing the wrong way around. That really would have cheesed everyone off. I am getting gradually faster and faster at constructing this thing though, which is incredibly exciting. There's nothing more fun than when you find a rhythm on building a redstone contraption and things begin to get automatic, as opposed to looking and thinking, where does this go? Where does that go? What am I actually doing? Who am I? What is my purpose? How did I get here? What happens if I eat Mentos and drink Coke at the same time? You know, all these sorts of questions. So I'm glad that I found the rhythm so that I don't have to trouble my brain with that sort of thing. So with stage 1 now completed and the first distributors are all in place, now it's time to move on to the second set of distributors, which are the coal or fuel distributors. And that's coal distributor number 1 done, and that is coal distributor number 2 now all done. So now it's time for the interesting bit. So I want to have a chest up at the top here, let's say a double chest. In fact, it has to be a double chest right here. This is going to be my item input. And then we're going to have the coal chest here, I guess. And then the output chest, I wonder if we put that somewhere else, because knowing Scar, we're probably going to need more than 1 output chest. Unless you have a system where he inputs shulker boxes of items, only shulker boxes of items, they have to go in a shulker box, and then it outputs shulker boxes of items. So the shulker boxes go in, the items get removed from their shulker boxes, get smelted by the super smelters, then get put back into the shulker box, and then the shulker box gets sent back up. I mean, that would be very fancy, but I think that's probably the best way to do it. Scar doesn't deal in stacks of items, he deals in shulker boxes of items. So I guess we have to build him a system that actually can cope with that. So first things first, we need to make the shulker box unloaders. So we actually built one of these over at Scar's Chest Monster 2.0. That's the thing that is currently working incredibly hard right now. Now this is a design by Samos the Sage, and it is absolutely perfect. It's a really, really intelligent design. It works well with empty boxes. It hasn't had any faults over at the Chest Monster 2.0, so I'm really happy to use it over here as well. And of course, because we have 2 super smelters, we're going to have 2 shulker box unloaders. That will allow us to actually use this thing at full speed, because the whole point of this design is it will operate at the maximum speed that hoppers can transfer items. So as the items go across like this, by the time they reach the end, these will have just finished smelting, they'll drop out, and then new ones will come in. So it is moving at the maximum speed that furnaces and hoppers can work. And that's why we need 2 of these things, because if we had 1 of these things feeding into 2 of these super smelters, then the items wouldn't be coming out of the shulker box fast enough. I hope that makes sense. So our little shulker box loading system is now going in place. This is an Ilmango design, which means it's going to be 100% reliable. It's a tiny bit bigger than it used to be because of the redstone changes that were made in Minecraft 1.16. But still, it looks like it's going to work. So this is where the items come in. This is where our shulker box is going to be. And then underneath here, this is where the shulker box is going to be broken. And our shulker box is going to be outputted through this hopper. And then I'm also going to take the empty shulker boxes from our shulker box unloading system. So where the items have come in. And I'm actually going to move those down into this dispenser right here, which dispenses the shulker boxes for our shulker box loading system. So then it should be a complete loop. Items come in a shulker box, items get removed from the shulker box and go into the system. The shulker box then comes down here, and then the items get loaded back into that shulker box and get sent back up to the top. That's what I like to call a 2 brain cell move. So I think a lot of the infrastructure to make this thing work is now all in place. I just need to connect up this hopper line into this hopper line, and that should be everything done. This hopper line down at the bottom here is our output hopper line, so this is where all of our output shulker boxes are going to be going, and they're going to go up into an item elevator. There is an insane sounding cave down here. What is that? What is that? What? How many mobs are in there? I mean, what? There was like I saw a creeper in there. There's tons of zombies. I mean, if I can get this guy to go... What is this? Is this like the only cave in the local environment that isn't lit up. What is what? That is pure chaos. That was completely bananas. I have never really seen so many mobs in such a small space before. I don't even understand how that happened. Anyway, bonkers caves aside, our input lines are now all in place. So this is where our shulker boxes are going to be going in. Now this back one, I don't think we need shulker boxes of coal. I could be wrong here. I don't know how much coal Scar is planning on dealing with here, but I imagine it won't be a crazy amount. So the fueling chests, they're not going to have the same shulker box system and everything like that. That's going to be a lot more regular. It's going to be a lot more normal. But I have still given him 3 lots of double chests for all of the fuel. And, I mean, if he's putting coal blocks into this, you know, 1 coal block can smelt 80 blocks. Alright, so if he fills this up with coal blocks, that is more smelting than he's ever going to do ever. Although, actually, now that I think about it, it's Scar. It probably isn't. That is 1 weekend of smelting for him. Anyway, the hopper lines are now all connected, so now I just need to find a good location for the output chest. I thought I would put it somewhere slightly different than here. Maybe we put it on the back side of this area? I don't actually know where to put this thing. I do kind of like the idea of the items coming out into these barrels. Like, these just gradually fill up with shulker boxes. I mean, that... So we've got a double chest as the input. So if we just ran it into these 2 barrels, that would be quite cool, and it actually utilizes part of the build. Yeah, let's do it. Those things look far better than anything I personally could construct. So let's get them in place. So our item elevator is going to come up here, go through some water, and then end up in those barrels. It is a tiny bit precarious. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure we're going to have a clean run all the way down, so this could get a little bit hairy. But it turns out I'm actually a wizard. Not only did we have a perfectly clean run all the way down, but my output chest is right here. It's almost as if I planned it. I didn't plan it, not at all. This was just complete luck, but it feels like I planned it. I should have told you that I planned it. These blocks go in, place in the ice, that then gets converted into water. All the shulker boxes that flow up here will then end up in these barrels. So we have item input chest, fuel input chests, shulker box output chests. I think that is every element of this super smelter all done and dusted. And the thing that I really like about this is that it hasn't made a particularly enormous change to the actual location. You know, I'm really, really scared of touching any of Scar's builds, especially in this place, because they're all so well planned out and just so perfectly formed. So I'm really happy that we've managed to kind of mix this in with one of his original structures. Unlike this. I mean, this is quite a big change to the environment, which on this point, I can't help but notice, yeah, the items are still flowing through. I actually have my camera account over here, loading it up, so that it has been working this entire time that I've been on the server. And we have barely even made a dent. We've barely even made a dent. What, we've done like 3 rows, maybe? What? This thing is nuts. Scar has so much stuff. The redstone lamps gradually switching on though does look incredibly cool. I can't wait until we have some in these upper regions. That's going to look mad. Where did I leave my item frames? I can't remember where I left my item frames. There is a shulker box full of coal somewhere over here, and I want to use it to indicate fuel, but I've lost said shulker box. So we've got our output item frame, we've got our input item frame, and then we have all of the fuel item frames as well. So hopefully that makes everything pretty clear for anyone who wants to use this thing. And I've got to say, I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with this system. This thing should work perfectly. It should work for a large number of items. It's relatively fast, but most importantly, you can leave it running without really thinking too much about it. You can set it off, and then it's just going to keep working. So, I think my job here is done. If we take a look inside the book, which I've had in my inventory this entire time, we had Chest Monster 2.0. I've managed to pull that off. And then we have the super duper smelter. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I personally consider this to be a super duper smelter. So that means that we are 2 things down, leaving us just with agriculture and doors and stuff. And those are going to have to wait for another episode on the Hermitcraft server. I really do hope that you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Now, one thing that I have just thought after recording and editing the entire video is that it might be smart if we add some form of coal level indication system. I don't know how we would do that, but that does seem like it would be fancy, and I think Scar would appreciate that, because I have to think about how much he's actually going to be smelting.